Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 6:30 council meeting where we have public hearings agenda. All members of council participate. Reverend Middleton is by us via Zoom because he is out of town on a pastoral mission. So Reverend, can you hear me? All right.
Good evening, Chairman. Thank you very much.
All right, can y'all turn this volume up so we can hear him? All right, can you hear us now? We want to hear you. Can you?
Yes, sir. I can hear you all fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just a little low on your volume, but I'm gonna see if I can get him to fix that and turn it up.
Thank you very much.
It looked like you've been in my closet and got my bow tie, so I'm gonna check when I get in there, okay? Reverend Milton, I'm gonna check when I get back on to make sure you ain't got my bow tie. All right, so we are going to start our public hearing. Ms. Salisbury,
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 7th at 6:30 PM regarding a request to designate the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church as a historic property on the Charleston County Historic Designation List.
did anybody sign up to speak, Ms. Worsler?
Yes. Do you want to do the public hearing first, the presentation?
Okay, sure.
Okay, this is a request to designate the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church located at 3754 Old Charleston Road, TMS number 28500000011 as a historic property on the Charleston County Historic Designation List. This slide summarizes the information about Bethel provided by the applicant. The church was established in 1888 by the Right Reverend Richard Allen as a bush church. Land was deeded to the church in 1908 by the Bennett, Robinson, and Blake families. The church is one of several amenities that acts as a central point alongside other businesses along this route on Old Charleston Road. Distinctive features of the old church acted as a safe haven for travelers en route to their destinations. Parishioners provided customized services to visitors and people in need, making Bethel known as the Church of Hospitality. The resounding bell provided a system of communication to the community to alert residents and visitors in times of emergency, call for assemblage, or to announce a death. The original church structure was a wooden building containing a balcony that was constructed with a choir loft. Bethel's location and sizable auditorium has made it a long-standing place in the community for activities, communication, meetings, and other events related to social concern, in addition to traditional religious service. Most notably, the Watch Night service, originating from events tied to the Emancipation Proclamation, is an annual service event held at Bethel. The church provided community health and educational services through the 1940s and 50s, and the current church structure began construction in 1982, and the brick veneer was completed by 1992. The current structure was built around the original structure, which can be still seen from the crawl space. This is the location of the church when looking at the county as a whole. The current zoning of the property is single-family residential 4, and the future land use designation is urban suburban cultural community protection. Adjacent properties to the north and west are zoned commercial and are undeveloped. Parcels to the east are also zoned R4, containing single-family homes, and parcels to the south are zoned industrial and contain single-family homes or are undeveloped. These are some photos from the site visit of the church and the interior. This is the original church structure built in 1888 that is within the current structure that's there today. In order for an application for designation of historic property to be approved, at least one of the 11 approval criteria must be met. The applicant provided responses to criteria number 1. It has significant inherent character, interest, history, or value as a part of the rural county or heritage of the county, state, or nation. Criteria 3 is associated with a person or persons who contributed significantly to the culture and development of the country, state, or nation. Criteria 4 exemplifies the cultural, political, economic, social, ethnic, or historic heritage of the county, state, or nation. And criteria 5, it individually or collectively embodies distinguishing characteristics of a type, style, or period in architecture or engineering. And these are the responses that the applicant provided. This was heard at the November 16th Historic Preservation Commission meeting where they unanimously recommended approval. The HPC meeting and this public hearing were noticed as required. To date, we have received 17 letters in support of the designation, 4 of which were from surrounding property owners along Old Charleston Road. And we also have received 1 letter in opposition of the designation request, and that is from a directly adjacent property owner to the west. And 2 individuals spoke in support of the designation at the HPC meeting. And that's all I have.
Any questions from council members? Okay, hearing none, any place sign up to speak?
Yes, we have 3 people. The first person's Benjamin Edwards, followed by Barbara Moss, and then Arthur Geddes.
Okay, would you come to the mic, sir? Would you give us your name and your address, please, sir?
Yes, good evening, Councilman. My name is Benjamin H. Edwards. I live at 3720 Old Charleston Road, and I'm for the Bethel AME Development Historic Designation. I live just down the street from this church. I grew up just down the road, and eventually, as I grew up, went away, came back home, and joined this church. Never didn't realize this time had passed. I born in 1946, so I'm 75 years old now. Yeah. And this church has been a pillar for me as a young man coming up and seeing all the development. I joined in the old church, as you saw the picture, and I worked on the new church. So I'm saying to all of you and all of the members about our forefather, Mr. Richard Allen, Reverend Richard Allen, had a vision. And he expanded his vision to a small town in Red Top. And Red Top grabbed hold of that vision through the many pastors and members and was a pillar to this community. And I'm so glad that I lived to see this opportunity comes up. And I pray that the council board would see likewise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next person, please.
Benjamin Edwards. I'm sorry, Barbara Moss.
Can someone get a mic to her so she won't have to get up? Get close to her and as much as you can. Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Barbara Moss. I live in Ravenel, but Bethel AME Church is my church. In the year 1888, a group of faith walkers decided that they wanted to build a place of worship and praise. They did that. From within those walls, those faith walkers made a special request that all persons who would come after them would follow that faith walk. That faith walk meant that they must follow that spiritual mandate. The mandate indicated walk by faith. The members of Bethel did just that. In 1982, they erected a building. In 1992, they erected a building. And in 2007, they added that wonderful, beautiful fellowship hall. And as a result of that, we now enjoy certain blessings. But at the same time, as we make this faith walk, we know that sometimes the walk must be adjusted. Sometimes the walk needs some required adjustment. Sometimes just a small amount will help achieve the desired goal. Sometimes a response from a cry for help does the same thing. So tonight we ask that this council, this body, take it upon themselves to help Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church in their walk by placing this church on the Charleston County Historic Preservation Site. Please do that.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then Arthur Gaddis.
Do we have Mr. Gaddis?
Good evening. My name is Arthur Geddes, and I live at 2060 Herman Road, Johns Island, South Carolina, and I'm a member of New Bethel AME Church. I will not try to top my leader, Barbara Moss, but I would like to let you know tonight that we have many supporters from the islands and around surrounding areas here with us. Tonight we have the Reverend Salisbury Taylor and the first gentleman of New Bethel AME Church and many other members and friends of New Bethel. So we're here tonight saying for the request to be granted to us because all that has been said thus far, we approve of it and just looking for your approval for us to be put on the registry. Thank you.
Thank you. If you're a member or you're here to support them, would you stand so council can see you? Those of you who could stand, if ma'am, you don't have to. Okay. Just wanted to show the support that you have.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this is Kylon Middleton, and I would be remiss, and I know you all are in formal proceedings, and certainly I am too, just virtually.
Yes.
But I wanted to applaud the Reverend Salisbury Taylor, First Gentleman Taylor, as well as Mr. Edwards, Ms. Moss, Mr. Geddes. I can fondly remember Bethel AME Church, specifically the Reverend Herbert Blake, way back in the day. I started preaching, I was 8 years old, and the Reverend Salisbury Taylor would remember it well because they would pick me up and take me to places like Bethel AME Church in Red Top to preach and exercise the gift and the calling that God had given. And certainly the people of Bethel, along with the pastors, throughout the years, to include our bishop and founder, Richard Allen, who saw the vision to plant that church there in that community, and it continues to be the lifeblood of the community today. As a part of the AME tradition, as part of the Charleston County Council, I just stand in solidarity and applaud the people of Bethel AME Church in Red Top for having the foresight and vision of designating their historic structure appropriately so that it can be preserved for the generation. So as a part of this council, it does my heart exceedingly well to see Bethel making this petition. And I pray that as we go through this process, we would support them overwhelmingly.
Thank you, Reverend. All right. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay. Now, Ms. Salisbury.
Reverend Charles H. Edwards want to affirm that Reverend Blake took me into the church when I was 12 years old. So I want to be prayerful and supportive of this congregation.
Thank you, sir. All right. So that concludes. We now move to item 1B, which is the Spring Grove development.
Yes, sir. Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on proposed amendments to the Spring Grove Development Agreement to remove properties annexed by the town of Ravenel from the requirements of the development agreement.
Okay, any speakers? Okay. All right, item 1C is Golden Grove Development Agreement.
Yes, sir. Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on a proposed amendment to the Golden Grove Development Agreement by and between Golden Grove LLC, the town of Ravenel, whereby Charleston County would be added as a party to the agreement for the limited purposes set forth in the proposed amendment.
Okay, any speakers? Okay, we move to 1D.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing regarding an ordinance repealing the existing Charleston County Business License Ordinance and replacing it with the revised Model Business License Ordinance.
But no speakers? Okay, and finally, 1E, which is the Social Service Hub, North Charleston Sewer District easement.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing regarding an ordinance approving and authorizing the grant of a perpetual easement to North Charleston Sewer District on a portion of the county property identified as 3685 Rivers Avenue.
Okay, anybody speak? Okay, that concludes our public hearings. Now we are moving to to public comments, where each citizen will be allowed up to 2 minutes in a 30-minute time period. So that means if we got 15 people sign up or more, it stops at 15. Okay, would you call the first two people?
Yes, sir. We have 5 people signed up. The first person is Claire Curtis, and then Amy Horwitz.
Okay, if you would come in that order and state your name and your address.
Hello, my name is Claire Curtis, and I live at 250 West Poplar Street, downtown. I'm here to talk about housing, and I want to talk about my housing story, as each of us has our own housing story. Thanksgiving was a few weeks ago, and it was a joy to be able to gather with my family and longtime friends to celebrate in our new home. The holiday season is one where all people should be able to gather with those that they love under a roof that keeps out the cold and the wet, the heat and the dark. I am privileged to be secure in my housing, and that privilege is due in part to my moving to Charleston more than 20 years ago when homes were more affordable. I have 2 children, both in college, and both interested in pursuing careers in education. Each has noted separately that they cannot imagine ever being able to own their own homes. And what am I to say to them? That if they were to move back to Charleston to become teachers, they likely could not afford to own a home, certainly not a home close to where they were raised in the downtown district. Their hometown is one of the least affordable places to live in the United States, whether that includes renting or owning. I wish for my children to have the kind of housing security that I have had, but I realistically also know that such security is right now not available in Charleston. And what does that mean to know that while I am secure, others, not my children, are surely not? That is why I'm asking this council to establish a regional housing trust fund and to commit $20 million from the federal ARPA relief funds and $10 million from county budget to that trust fund. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next person.
Good evening. My name is Amy Horwitz. I live at 300 Magnolia Road in a wonderful West Ashley neighborhood in Councilmember Moody's district. I was part of the 51% of your district that voted in favor of the housing referendum. I am also a member of CAJM through KKBE, one of Charleston's downtown synagogues. I'm speaking in support of allocating $20 million of the American Rescue Plan Act towards a housing trust fund, as well as $10 million from the general budget in the upcoming budget cycle. My husband and I were able to buy our home in 2004 thanks to financial help from my parents for the down payment. Since then, the costs of houses in my area have risen by hundreds of thousands of dollars. There is no way we could afford to buy it now. My neighbor has 3 generations of family crowded into her home to help make ends meet. Friends have had to move away or put their lives on hold due to the staggering costs of housing in our county. I love my teenage daughter, but do not want to have her live at home with us as an adult, or to face moving away to an area where she will be able to afford a place to live. I am grateful to have had the option for stable, safe housing thanks to the opportunity my parents provided me. A housing trust fund is a way to make sure that everyone in our county has more options for safe, stable housing, which is fundamentally important to all aspects of our lives. When considering our budgets, we must consider all the human and financial costs if we do not allocate funding for such a basic critical need. Allocating $20 million of the American Rescue Plan Act, as well as $10 million from the general budget in the upcoming budget cycle towards the Housing Trust Fund is an excellent investment in our collective future. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Reverend Armstrong, and then Josh Dix and Carlette Geddes.
Okay.
Good evening. I am Reverend Cecilia D. Armstrong. I live at 602 McLernan Trace on Johns Island. And I come to just tell you a quick story about my arrival here 6 years ago when I got to Charleston and had nowhere to live at all whatsoever. It was to my advantage to be in a congregation that had members that I served that opened their doors to their home and allowed me to live with them until I could find adequate housing. What comes to mind for me is that those who serve our community, like the folks who make my Papa John's pizza or the folks who serve at Publix, they can't very well have people that they serve invite them to live in their homes. And so it just would be a wonderful gift to this community and those who live there to allocate these funds for affordable housing. It would just be a gift for them and a way to respond to how what we would want is someone who is able to live and work in the same community. It is great that I get to live on Johns Island, which is only a stone away from St. James Presbyterian Church on James Island, but I'm close enough that I can respond to those that I serve. And I think that's only fair for those who work in that area and that space. And so I would ask, just as an individual who was blessed to be able to serve in a place that could house me, that maybe those who work in that community could be housed as well. I also serve as the co-president of the Charleston Area Justice Ministry, and I stand on behalf of them and those who are here supporting that, if you will stand with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Pryor, members of council. First, I want to say, as we go through the recording process and we're trying to transact, keeping the Registrar of Deeds office open is an essential service. It helps as the transaction goes through, getting insurance for property owners. So anything that you can do to lend support in that department, we would greatly appreciate it. The other piece that I wanted to talk about was the 995 Morrison property. That piece of property is part of the Laurel Island PUD. This was a negotiation a couple years back. We were able to get 20% affordable housing as part of that PUD. That is also part of the tech overlay district, so any development that occurs there has to be mixed use in some sort. We find that mixed income neighborhoods are the best sort of neighborhoods, allowing folks the opportunity to have jobs in their neighborhood is a huge impact into the success and sustainability of those neighborhoods. As this process unfolds, we would encourage council to consider the sale of that property and using that money to fund the housing trust that we went through the process of last year. Having that type of resource to start up a housing fund would be the jumpstart to get affordable housing developed throughout the area, not just in this one dense development. So just as this goes forward, if we can lend any support in estimating the property value of that or any kind of commercial analysis, we're happy to assist in that. But thank you for your time. Good luck tonight.
State your name and your organization you're from for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Josh Dix. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Charleston Association of Realtors, and I was a part of the Affordable Housing Task Force.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Who else?
The last person is Carlette Geddes. They passed.
Well, that's it. That concludes our public hearing and public comments. At this time, we are going to move into our regularly scheduled county council meeting. I'm going to ask Ms. Johnson to lead us in prayer and Mr. Darby in the pledge. Let us all stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, this wonderful day that you have provided for us. And Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together in this county to do the work of our citizens. We ask for your guidance, your leadership, and all your many blessings to help us to do the best that we can for the service of people in Charleston County. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You all may be seated. Our first business on the agenda is we'll let everybody leave, and then we will. Okay, our first item is the Freedom of Information Act, Ms. Salisbury.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting was posted and agendas were distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
Item 2 is the minutes of November 9th, 2021, and November 18th, 2021. What is the pleasure?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any deletions, additions? Haven't heard none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Item number 3 is third reading ordinances. 3A, Ms. Salisbury.
An ordinance repealing the existing Charleston County Business License Ordinance as amended and replacing it with the revised model business license ordinance. I'm sorry, Mr. Darby.
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt is absent. Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Reverend Middleton is absent. Mr. Moody.
Aye.
Mr. Sass.
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers.
Aye.
Mr. Werman. Mr. Pryor.
Aye. Ms. Honeycutt just walked in, so we are on third reading of repeal of the business license ordinance. Would you like to vote on that?
And this all the same this time.
You'll just wait? Okay, we move on. Thank you. Item 3B is the North Charleston Sewer District easement request. Ms. Salisbury.
An ordinance approving and authorizing the grant of a perpetual easement to North Charleston Sewer District on a portion of county property identified as tax map parcel number 46906000107 and located at 3685 Rivers Avenue with the right to amend up to third reading. Mr. Darby.
Aye.
Ms. Honeycutt.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Moody.
Aye.
Mr. Sass.
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers.
Aye.
Mr. Werman.
Aye.
Mr. Pryor.
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
All right, item 4 is second reading ordinance. 4A is financial incentives for Project Rose.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Charleston County and an industry currently known to the county as Project Rose, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of taxes arrangement with Project Rose, providing for payment by Project Rose of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes, providing for certain special source revenue or infrastructure credits, providing for the allocation of fee in lieu of taxes paid by Project Rose under the agreement for establishment of multi-county industrial business park and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Darby.
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Middleton is absent. Mr. Moody.
Aye.
Mr. Sass.
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers.
Aye.
Mr. Werman.
Aye.
Mr. Pryor.
Aye.
Ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1
Okay,
absent.
4B.
An ordinance approving the release and termination of the Spring Grove Development Agreement with respect to 4 properties annexed into the town of Ravenel, identified as tax map parcel numbers 186000062, 175000059, and 16800000023. Mr. Darby.
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Middleton is absent. Mr. Moody.
Aye.
Mr. Sass.
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers.
Aye.
Mr. Werman.
Aye.
Mr. Pryor.
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
Okay, item 5A, Commissions for Public Works.
One more
one
ordinance
more?
on that one, yes, sir.
Okay.
An ordinance approving the First Amendment to the Golden Grove Development Agreement. Mr. Darby.
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Moody.
Aye.
Mr. Sass.
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers.
Aye.
Mr. Werman. Mr. Pryor.
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
Okay, now we move to 5A. Ms. Salisbury. Well,
committee
is there a motion?
recommendation.
Is there
Second.
a move and second? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. The first reading.
An ordinance approving and authorizing the grant of a utility easement to the Commissioners of Public Works of the City of Charleston, South Carolina, on portions of county properties identified as tax map parcel number 41200000011, located at 3831 Leeds Avenue, and tax map parcel number 41200000014, located at 4450 Brickyard Creek Road, North Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay, item 6A through D, you want to take them one at a time, or you? All right, 6A, naming of the juvenile center. What is the pleasure?
recommendation.
Okay, is there a second? A second by Mr. Darby. Any discussion?
Yes. In reference to the name of the center, removing detention to me is kind of, is cutting the meaning of what we're trying to do here. And I understand, I mean, this is a state's mandate that we have a detention center, and to go from taking out detention sends a message that I'm uncomfortable with. I think it should be that we need to send a message to people who are coming to the jail that this is not a comfortable place for you. We are not trying to have people come and stay. We need to send a message to people, the young people that are coming, to get their lives right before they come to this detention center. We don't want them to come here and now we're trying to straighten them out. And if there's any way that the sheriff's office or organizations, and certainly the council, is able to put monies aside to help to improve programs that will deter these young people from coming to a detention center, then I think we need to look at that. That, to me, has more meaning than for us to say, this is not a detention center, because it is. And please let me just be clear. I understand that everybody that comes to the detention center may not be guilty of any crimes, and we should be treating people accordingly in the jail until they have been proven guilty. But I just don't think we're sending the right message by saying you're coming here and we're making it such a comfortable place that you think this is just a center, because it's not just a center.
Mr.
Anybody?
Chairman?
Yes, Reverend Middleton?
This is Kylon Middleton. I'm certainly absent but present, and I certainly would hate to keep interjecting, but I would like to always remind us, as it relates to the naming of building centers and external entities outside of this council, that we be very careful and be deferential, to the individual constituent organization within our county government that recommends these things to us. Certainly, it may set a bad precedent if we, are wordsmithing names that individuals are sending to us. And so I do understand and respect and receive Ms. Johnson's the statement that she just made, and I would just like to add that if we are then going to suggest to them what their names are going to be, then other people can start suggesting to us names of buildings that we have already voted ourselves to name.
Thank you, Reverend. Anybody else? Okay, Ms. Salisbury, call the roll.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
No.
Ms. Johnson?
Nay?
Mr. Moody?
Nay.
Mr. Sass?
Nay.
Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
The motion ties.
Motion tied, so it's,
It's dead.
yeah, it dies.
Yes, sir.
It fails, motion fails because it's a tie. Okay, so let me be perfectly clear with this. All right. We're in the stage of just about to open that place up, right? Mr. Tootin? Couple of months. And so it may be going up without a name or a sign. I don't know how we're gonna work this, whether it stays the juvenile detention center, that's gonna be up to, I guess, y'all to decide, I guess, because it's out of our hands now. So I guess you'll go with the original name because her request was denied.
Yes, sir.
Okay? All right. Mr. Swears?
I'm curious, does the state, I know if we were naming it after a person, that would be our area of concern, but does the state prescribe, just a generic name? I mean, detention center is the obvious name. Does or Ms. Attorney, can you answer that? Is there anything prescribed, or is it whatever we want to name it? We can name it the whatever house.
I do believe that council has the ability to support a name change if that were the will of council. The way that the statutes are written does reference a juvenile detention center, but it is in lowercase, and that typically means that it's not a required name. It's just a general description of the function.
Okay, thank you. Good
Yes,
answer.
sir.
Anybody else? All right, we move to item 6B. There's the City of North Charleston.
Chairman, if without objection, I'd move for 6B, C, and D to be approved, our committee recommendations. I don't think those had any conflict
I'd
last
rather
time.
B be by itself.
I'm sorry, okay.
All right, 6B.
I'm sorry, I forgot about that, Mr. Twitters. Move for approval for 6B, yes.
Second.
Second by Ms. Honeycutt. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
One nay.
One nay. Okay, item 6C.
Move for committee recommendations C and D, please.
Second on C and D. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 7, what is the pleasure, A through G?
For approval. Yep, second.
7A through G.
Moved by Mr. Moody, seconded by Ms. Johnson. All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. That concludes our agenda. Now I'll move to council comment, Mr. Werman.
I certainly am in agreement with a lot of what was said by the folks who spoke today. I would highlight the items 6C and D, which we just approved, and thank Ms. Durant and her wonderful staff for working on those. I think that progress is certainly being made on the issue, and so I would maybe highlight that as sort of a positive.
Thank you, Mr. Werman. I think sometimes we don't get enough credit for the good we do, you know?
I was not going to say, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I was not going to say anything, but I would agree with Mr. Werman and thank Ms. Johnson and her work, along with others. This council has done a lot of work the last 6 to 9 months in housing, and thank you, Ms. Johnson, for your leadership. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Sass.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor. I want to say I agree with Mr. Werman and Mr. Moody. I think that we are making good progress here. It's especially gratifying that the purchase of the 18 houses and getting those back into circulation, and also that will remove the debt on the Floyd Manor, and it will allow them to reach a solution, and so that money kind of gets multiplied.
Right.
And so nobody should say that we're not doing anything about it. Thank y'all.
All right, Ms. Johnson?
Okay, I'll just make something short here. Ditto everybody else so far. And to say that this is certainly, I think, a great step for us to show that we are serious about doing something about affordable housing and purchasing of the 18 units. We are saying not only we want people to live in decent housing, they have an opportunity to be in a house versus an apartment if that's a choice. And they're scattered all over. So it's not just in one place. And I think that's going to be a plus for us, as well as saying that we are looking forward to making this forever, instead of just having someone to live in a unit or make it 10 years or 20 years. This should be something that the council should really make sure that it stays affordable housing forever.
Thank you. Reverend Middleton?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is the 80th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, and I definitely stand in solidarity with those military personnel that continue to fight around our country and around the world for our freedom and peace. And certainly, as we look at the affordable housing crisis that's in our region, in our nation, and certainly that stares us in the face every day, I do applaud just what we've passed today, along with our other council members, the scattered sites across those areas that will definitely add, once we put them back online, to the affordability and options of products that could be occupied by individuals in all of the categories that we, workforce area categories that we've already aforementioned, and also to just reiterate that as a part of our ongoing commitment to affordable housing in Charleston County at least, that we enshrine affordable housing in our budget to also include those those rescue fund monies that we are contemplating usage in the future. So thank you all very much for allowing me to appear virtually, and I do appreciate everything that I heard tonight.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Swears.
I took an opportunity today before our meeting to meet with Mr. Davis, our housing director, and I was very, very impressed by his very deep knowledge and insight into affordable housing. I learned quite a bit in that 1 hour, and I encourage others to meet with him as well. I think he's going to be a very, very valuable member of our team going forward in this.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Darby?
No, sir.
Ms. Honeycutt?
I too just want to say thank you to our staff and to Ms. Johnson, who's really led the charge since I've been on council to address affordable housing. I think both the shelter that we approved today, as well as the purchase of these 18 houses, again, to help fund the balance on Joseph Lloyd Manor, will go a really long way toward addressing the needs of those in our community. So thank you all.
Okay, Mr. Rand, I'm going to defer to you before any closing comments. I know you want to have somebody you want to introduce us to us.
So, yes, council members, you know we have a lot of staff that are at the point of retiring, and I wanted to mention to you, you've met Dr. Anna Eskridge before because she's spoken to you. She's been the leader of our ERAP program. She is the new Community Development Director. Gene Sullivan will be around for a few more months, but we're going to be working on these housing projects and working with Mr. Davis. So I wanted you to know that she is officially, as of December 1st, the new Director for Community Development and all of our HUD funds and ERAP money.
Thank you so much for taking on that task. Anything from?
She didn't really have a choice, Mr. Ryan.
Okay, all right.
No, sir. Nothing here.
Yes, ma'am? No, sir. Okay, in closing comments, let me thank our staff, especially Mr. Rand and your staff, for working with us. This was just an idea that we had when we were talking about these Joseph Lloyd Manor and these, affordable scattered sites, as well as the, working with Tri-County Family Ministry, which is neighbors working together now. And you walked us through those steps, and I appreciate it, to you and your staff, because now it's become, policy that we can help these people. I think we don't talk about it enough, or we don't credit ourselves enough when it comes to affordable housing, but we have done more in the last 6 months than this council has done in the last 20 years. And it's all because, you have people that care, and we want to see things move forward. I want to congratulate Councilman Wehrman and Councilman Middleton. They came on board with a zeal for affordable housing, and they lit the fire. And so I want to give credit to where credit is due as well. Ms. Johnson, thank you too. But thank you to this whole council for having the vision to move forward. This is just one step closer to where we need to be. There's a lot of debate that goes on to move to the next level, but I'm here and I'm in it. And I think when we serve the people who we represent the most, I think it's enjoyable for everybody. We all got different constituencies, but as council members, we must do what's best for the county as a whole, not just our districts. And in closing, I want to invite council members on Thursday at 11 a.m. We're having our annual teddy bear toss where we ask employees to bring a teddy bear to help those children in need during Christmas time. So December the 9th is always special to me. That's why I try to have it around that time, because that's my birthday. And so I don't want a present. I just want your presence to be there if you can. I know a lot of us work during that time, but that would make a lot if you come. And I'm telling you, the employees look forward to this day every year. And even during the pandemic last year, when I said, well, we might want to not do it, Ms. Salisbury and her crew figured out a way to do it. We staggered the different times, but this year we can be wide open because of, the numbers are down and the practices that we have been doing. So if you can make it, fine. If you can't and you want to bring a teddy bear or a toy and drop it in the box, do so. But, that would, that's all I'm asking for my birthday from this council, okay? So having said that, meeting adjourned.